She touched his arm 3 times in 10 minutes. 3 times. And he didn't notice once. Not because he was distracted. Not because he wasn't interested. He genuinely had no idea what was happening right in front of him. She was speaking a language he had never been taught to hear. And by the end of that conversation, she had already made her decision. She was done. Not because he rejected her, but because he never even saw her. That silence, that invisible moment where a woman closes a door you didn't know was open. That's what we are talking about today. There's something that happens to a woman when she hasn't been intimate in a long time. And I don't just mean physically. I mean emotionally, energetically. When she hasn't felt the warmth of someone's skin against hers. When she hasn't been held. When no one has looked at her in that way that makes her feel like a woman and not just a person moving through the world. Something shifts inside her. She doesn't become desperate. She doesn't throw herself at the next man who walks by. That's what most men assume. And that assumption is exactly why they miss everything. What actually happens is far more subtle, far more intelligent. She starts sending signals. Not loud ones. Not obvious ones. Quiet ones. Signals that only a man who is paying real attention would ever catch. And today, I'm going to walk you through 5 of those signals. 5 things a woman does when she hasn't been touched, seen, or desired in a long time, and she finally meets someone who sparks something in her. The 5th one is the most powerful. It's the one most men completely misread. And when you understand it, you'll never look at a woman's behavior the same way again. But before we get there, let me tell you why I know this. I've spent years observing these patterns. Not from textbooks. From real life. From conversations with women who told me what they actually felt versus what they showed on the surface. From messages I've received from men who described situations in detail and had no idea what was really happening. From coaching moments where a man would tell me a story and I'd have to stop him and say, "Wait. Go back. You missed the most important part." Because that's the thing. The most important moments between a man and a woman are almost never the loud ones. They are the quiet ones. The pauses. The glances. The shift in energy that happens when she decides, even for a second, to let you in. Most men are listening for words. But women are speaking with everything except words. And once you learn to read that language, everything changes. So let's break them down. The first signal is one that most men dismiss entirely. Touch becomes her language. When a woman hasn't been physically close to someone in a long time, her body starts craving connection in ways she may not even fully understand. There's a real psychological term for this. It's called skin hunger. And it's not poetic exaggeration. It's a biological reality. Human beings need physical contact. When that contact disappears for weeks, months, sometimes years, the nervous system begins to ache for it. Not in a dramatic, falling apart kind of way. In a quiet, low-hum kind of way. Like a sound you stop noticing until someone finally turns it off, and suddenly you feel the relief. When a woman is experiencing skin hunger, and she meets a man she finds even slightly attractive, something happens neurologically. Her brain begins producing small hits of oxytocin and dopamine just from being near him. And her body, without her conscious permission, starts seeking contact. This is where it shows up in real life. She touches your arm when she laughs. Not a grab. A brush. Light. Almost accidental. She lets her fingers graze yours when you hand her something. She fixes your collar. She adjusts your sleeve. She sits closer than she needs to. Not pressed against you. just close enough that her knee might touch yours under the table. These are not random. These are not meaningless. These are her body whispering something she hasn't said out loud yet. But here's where most men completely miss it. They rationalize it away. They say she's just friendly. She's just a touchy person. She does that with everyone. And sometimes, yes, that's true. But when a woman who hasn't been intimate in a long time touches you more than once in a short conversation, she is not being casual. She is testing the water. She is asking, without words, if it's safe to move closer. Let me give you an example. A man once told me about a coffee date he went on. He said the woman was great. Funny. Smart. Easy to talk to. He said she kept touching his arm during the conversation. He noticed it but didn't think much of it. He thought she was just expressive. Animated. They talked for an hour. She laughed. She leaned in. She touched his hand once when making a point. And at the end, she said it was nice meeting him. She smiled politely. She left. He never heard from her again. He told me he didn't understand. He said the conversation was perfect. And I asked him one question. When she touched your arm, what did you do? He paused. Nothing, he said. I just kept talking. And that was the moment. That was the door she opened. And he walked right past it. When a woman reaches out and touches you, she is not asking you to grab her. She is asking you to respond, to acknowledge the shift, to meet her energy with something warm and steady. A confident man doesn't flinch at touch. He doesn't freeze. He doesn't ignore it. He receives it calmly. Maybe he holds eye contact a beat longer. Maybe he mirrors the touch naturally. Maybe he simply smiles in a way that says, I noticed. That's all she needed. Just to feel seen in that small, quiet moment. And when she doesn't get that, when the touch lands and nothing comes back, she reads that as disinterest, or worse, as emotional unavailability. And she closes the door gently. So gently he never even hears it shut. The second signal is one that confuses men more than almost anything else. Emotional validation fishing. When a woman hasn't felt desired in a long time, something happens to her inner world. She starts questioning herself. Not always in an obvious, insecure way. Sometimes it's subtle. A quiet voice in the back of her mind that whispers, am I still attractive? Am I still someone a man would want? Have I lost something I used to have? She won't say this to you directly. She won't sit across from you and say, I need you to tell me I'm desirable. That's not how women operate. Instead, she'll ask questions. And those questions will seem casual on the surface, but underneath them is something much deeper. She'll say things like, do you think I'm too emotional? Or, am I overreacting right now? Or she'll laugh and say, I probably look terrible today. Or she'll ask, do you think men actually find confidence attractive in a woman? Or she'll share something personal and then immediately say, sorry, that was probably too much. These are not throwaway comments. These are emotional tests. Not manipulative ones. Unconscious ones. She's reaching out with her vulnerability and watching how you respond. She's not looking for flattery. She's looking for something much more rare. She's looking for a man who can see her. Really see her. And reflect something honest and warm back. And this is where most men fail completely. When a woman says, do you think I'm attractive? The average man panics slightly. He doesn't know what to do with the emotional weight of that question. So he deflects. He says, yeah, of course you are. Or he laughs it off. Or he says, don't be silly. Or worse, he changes the subject entirely. And every single one of those responses tells her the same thing. You are not emotionally safe. Not because you were rude. Not because you said something wrong. But because you didn't meet her where she was. She opened a small emotional door, and you walked past it. Just like the touch. Just like the arm brush at the coffee shop. Another door. Another missed moment. Now let me show you what actually works. When a woman asks, "Am I too emotional?" the man who creates real attraction doesn't rush to fix it. He pauses. He looks at her. And he says something like, "I think you feel things deeply." That's not a flaw. That's rare. That's it. No long speech. No performance. Just a calm, honest reflection of what he sees. And when she hears that, something in her nervous system settles. She feels safe. She feels seen. And that feeling of being seen by a man, especially when she hasn't felt it in a long time, is more powerful than any compliment about her appearance. Let me give you a real example. A woman once told me about a late-night phone call she had with a man she'd been talking to for a few weeks. They weren't dating yet. Just talking. Getting to know each other. And during that call, she got quiet for a moment and said, "Do you ever feel like people only like the version of you that's easy to be around?" She told me she almost didn't say it. She almost swallowed it. But something about his energy made her feel like she could. And instead of brushing past it, he said, "Yeah. I think most people only want the highlight reel. But I'd rather know the full person." She told me that was the moment. That was when she knew she wanted him closer. Not because of his looks. Not because of anything he'd done physically. But because he held space for something real. He didn't flinch. He didn't fix. He just stayed. That is what creates attraction in a woman who has been emotionally untouched for a long time. Presence. Calm, steady presence. Tell me in the comments. What usually shifts first for you when you realize someone actually sees you? Is it something they say? Something they do? Or just a feeling you can't explain? Now let's talk about the third signal. And this one lives almost entirely beneath the surface. Body language signals. Most people think body language is something you study in a book. Something you memorize. Crossed arms means closed off. Eye contact means interest. But that's surface-level understanding. When a woman hasn't been intimate in a long time and she meets a man who triggers attraction in her, her body starts doing things she doesn't even realize. This is not a conscious choice. This is her limbic system activating. The limbic system is the part of the brain responsible for emotion, instinct, and survival behavior. It's ancient. It doesn't think in words. It thinks in movement and sensation. And when it detects a man who might be a suitable partner, it starts sending signals through her body before her conscious mind even catches up. Here's what that looks like. She touches her hair. Not once. Repeatedly. She runs her fingers through it. She tucks it behind her ear. She twirls a strand while looking at you. This is a grooming behavior. It's instinctive. Her body is preparing itself to appear attractive. She's not thinking about it. Her biology is doing it for her. She bites or licks her lips slightly. Not in an exaggerated, performative way. In a barely noticeable way. Her lips might part just slightly when she's looking at you. Her tongue might brush her lower lip while she listens. This is a self-soothing behavior combined with a subconscious attraction display. She leans closer. Not dramatically. Just a few inches. You might not even notice it until you realize the space between you has gotten smaller without either of you consciously moving. Her pupils dilate. This one is harder to catch, but it's one of the most reliable signals. When a woman is attracted, her pupils physically widen. It's an involuntary response controlled by the autonomic nervous system. She cannot fake it. She cannot stop it. She mirrors you. If you lean forward, she leans forward. If you tilt your head, she tilts hers. If you slow your speech, she slows hers. Mirroring is the brain's way of building rapport and signaling alignment. When a woman mirrors you, her subconscious is saying, I am with you. I am matching your rhythm because I want to be closer to you. Now here's the important part. She doesn't know she is doing most of this. These are not strategies. These are not games. These are ancient biological signals that bypass her conscious awareness entirely. And the mistake most men make when they notice these signals is they escalate too fast. They see the hair touch. They see the lip bite. They see her leaning in. And they think, she's ready. Let me make a move. No, not yet. The correct response is slow escalation. You match her energy. You don't jump ahead of it. If she leans in, you hold your ground calmly. You don't rush forward. If she touches her hair, you don't stare at her body. You hold eye contact with a relaxed confidence that says, I see what's happening. And I'm in no rush. That tension, that slow magnetic pull between two people who are both aware of the energy but neither is forcing it. That's where real attraction lives. That's the space that makes her feel both excited and safe at the same time. And for a woman who hasn't felt that in a long time, that combination is everything. The fourth signal is one that will make most men uncomfortable. And that discomfort is exactly the point. Emotional strength testing. When a woman hasn't been intimate in a long time, she doesn't just crave physical closeness. She craves safety. And not the kind of safety that comes from locks on doors or money in a bank account. Emotional safety. The kind that comes from knowing the man beside her can hold steady when things get hard. When emotions get heavy. When life stops being easy and polite. So she tests. Not maliciously. Not with some calculated plan. Most of the time, she doesn't even know she's doing it. It's wired into her. It's a protection mechanism that evolved over thousands of years. Before she lets a man close, truly close, her nervous system needs to know one thing. Can he handle me at my most real? And here's how those tests show up. She shares something painful. A story from her past. A trauma she's carried. Not because she wants you to fix it, but because she wants to see what happens to your face when she shows you something heavy. Does he flinch? Does he pull away? Does he rush to solve it? Or does he stay? She starts a small conflict. Maybe she misinterprets something you say. Maybe she pushes back on an opinion. Maybe she gets a little sharp for no apparent reason. This isn't her being difficult. This is her limbic system poking at your foundation to see if it cracks. She teases you. She challenges you. She says something slightly provocative to see how you respond under pressure. Not because she wants to fight. Because she wants to see if you can hold your ground without getting reactive. She pulls away. This one confuses men the most. Things seem to be going well. She's warm. She's engaged. And then suddenly she's distant. She takes longer to respond. She seems less interested. And the man panics. He chases. He double texts. He asks what's wrong. And in doing that, he fails the test. Because the pullback is the test. She wants to see if you can tolerate her absence without falling apart. She wants to know that your emotional world doesn't collapse the moment she steps back. That kind of steadiness tells her something words never could. It tells her you are grounded. You are not dependent on her for your sense of self. And that makes you safe. Now let me show you what most men get wrong. When she shares something heavy, they try to fix it. They say things like, "Well, have you tried this?" Or, "You shouldn't let that bother you." And in doing that, they accidentally tell her that her feelings are a problem to be solved, not a truth to be witnessed. When she starts a small conflict, they argue. They get defensive. They raise their voice. Or they cave immediately and agree with everything she says. Both responses fail. One shows emotional volatility. The other shows a lack of backbone. Neither one feels safe to her. When she pulls away, they chase. And chasing tells her you are not centered. You are reacting. You are operating from fear, not confidence. And fear in a man does not create attraction. It creates anxiety. So what does work? Calm. Emotional. Stability. Let me give you an example of what that sounds like. She says, "Sometimes I feel like no one really knows me." The wrong response is, "Oh, come on, lots of people know you." That dismisses her. The wrong response is, "I know how you feel, I'm the same way." That redirects attention to yourself. The right response is something like, "That sounds lonely. I'm glad you told me." Simple. Present. Honest. She says something sharp. Maybe she challenges your opinion in a way that feels a little aggressive. The wrong response is matching her aggression. The wrong response is shrinking. The right response is a slight smile, steady eye contact, and something like, "I hear you. I just see it differently." No drama. No ego. Just grounded clarity. She pulls away for a few days. The wrong response is flooding her inbox. The right response is giving her space. Living your life. Responding warmly when she comes back without punishing her for the silence. This is what emotional strength looks like. And for a woman who hasn't been intimate in a long time, a man who passes these tests doesn't just become attractive. He becomes magnetic. Because he represents something she hasn't felt in a long time. Safety without control. Strength without aggression. Presence without pressure. That combination is rare. And she knows it. Now here's where it all comes together. The fifth signal. And this is the one I told you about at the beginning. The most powerful one. The one most men completely misread. She creates excuses to be alone with you. This is the peak of everything we've talked about. The touch. The emotional fishing. The body language. The testing. All of it leads here. Because when a woman has decided she wants you closer, she won't announce it. She won't say, "I'm attracted to you and I want to be alone with you." That's not how women communicate desire. Especially women who haven't been intimate in a long time. They've been sitting with this tension for so long that the last thing they'll do is risk rejection by being direct. Instead, she creates a reason. She says, "I just got this new couch. Can you help me move the old one?" She says, "My Wi-Fi has been acting up. Do you know anything about Reuters?" She says, "I found this amazing wine. You should come try it." She says, "There's this movie I've been wanting to watch, but I hate watching things alone." None of these are about furniture. None of them are about Wi-Fi. None of them are about wine or movies. They are about creating a private space where something can happen without her having to say it out loud. This is called plausible deniability. And it's one of the most important concepts you will ever understand about women. Plausible deniability means she gives herself a safe reason to be near you that isn't explicitly romantic. So if things don't go the way she hopes, she can walk away without feeling exposed. She can tell herself it was just about the couch, just about the movie, just about the wine. Her dignity stays intact. Her vulnerability stays protected. But make no mistake, the invitation is the signal. The excuse is the wrapping. What's inside is desire. And for a woman who hasn't been close to someone in a long time, this moment is enormous. She has thought about it. She has weighed the risk. She has gone back and forth in her mind a dozen times before sending that text. She has picked out what she's going to wear. She has cleaned her apartment. She has imagined how the night might go. All before you even walk through the door. That's how much weight this moment carries for her. Now here's where men go wrong. And they go wrong in 3 predictable ways. The first mistake is being awkward. He shows up and the energy is tense. He sits on the far end of the couch. He keeps the conversation shallow. He doesn't read the room. He treats it like a casual hangout when every signal in the room is telling him it's not. The second mistake is being passive. He senses the energy but does nothing. He waits for her to make the move. He waits for her to close the gap. And she won't. Because she already made her move. The invitation was the move. She brought you into her private space. That was her step forward. Now it's your turn. The third mistake is being overly aggressive. He reads the signals correctly, but moves too fast. He skips the tension. He skips the slow build. He grabs when he should be leaning. He pushes when he should be present. And in doing that, he makes her feel unsafe. The very thing she was testing for through every signal, every touch, every question, was whether you could be close without being threatening. And if you rush it, you fail that final test. So what does the right response look like? Relaxed, playful, confident, slow. You show up and you're at ease. You sit comfortably. You don't crowd her and you don't avoid her. You let the conversation happen naturally. You laugh. You tease a little. You hold eye contact a bit longer than necessary. You let silence exist without rushing to fill it. And when the moment comes, when the gap between you closes naturally, when she's sitting a little closer, when her voice gets a little softer, when she looks at you and holds it just a second too long, you don't freeze. You don't pounce. You meet her there, calmly, like you've been expecting this, like it's the most natural thing in the world. That is what she's been waiting for. Not performance, not aggression, not hesitation. Just a man who can be present in the tension and move through it with her. Together. Let me paint this for you. She invites him over to watch a movie she's been talking about all week. He arrives. She's wearing something comfortable but intentional. She smells good. The lights are low. Not because she's trying to seduce him in some calculated way, but because she wants the space to feel warm, intimate, safe. They sit on the couch. Not too close at first. The movie plays. They talk over it. She laughs. He makes her laugh more. Somewhere in the first 30 minutes, she shifts closer. Her knee touches his. She doesn't move it. He notices. He doesn't react outwardly. But he stays. He doesn't pull his leg away. He lets the contact rest there. Naturally. She looks over at him during a scene. He catches her looking. She doesn't look away immediately. Neither does he. A small smile crosses her face. He mirrors it without thinking. And in that moment, everything both of them have been carrying, the loneliness, the longing, the quiet hunger for connection, it all becomes weightless. Because they are finally in the same space, emotionally and physically, without pretense, without performance. That's what this is really about. Not strategy, not tricks, not reading women like a manual. It's about being awake, being present, seeing what's actually happening instead of what you assume is happening. Let me bring this all together for you. Everything I've shared with you today comes down to 3 things: awareness, confidence, emotional presence. Awareness means you stop sleepwalking through interactions with women. You start noticing the small things. The touch that lingers a half second longer. The question that carries more weight than it seems. The body that moves toward you without her telling it to. The test that looks like conflict, but is really a search for safety. The invitation that sounds casual but isn't. Confidence means you don't panic when you notice those things. You don't overthink them. You don't freeze or fumble. You respond from a grounded place inside yourself. You move through the moment without needing a script. Because confidence isn't about knowing exactly what to say. It's about trusting yourself to handle whatever happens next. Emotional presence means you're there. Not in your head. Not rehearsing your next line. Not performing. You are in the room. In the conversation. In the silence. You let her feel your attention without making it heavy. You let her come closer at her own pace. And you meet her there when she does. Most men will never learn this. Not because they can't, but because they are not paying attention. They are looking for the big, obvious signals. And they miss the quiet ones that actually matter. But now you know. And knowing changes everything. Which of these 5 signals surprised you the most? Tell me in the comments. I read them. And I'll see what you noticed. If this made something click for you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. When things finally start making sense. When patterns become clear. Come back to Lies Unmasked and tell me thank you. Subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.